just write a plus sign or something. Are you for real, right? Okay. But this wasn't live yet, right? Okay, so let's just start again. Oh, good. Let's just start again. Thank you, Rukaya, for letting us know.
All right, I think we are live now. Oh.
Okay, so are we live now? Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. This happens. This is the first time happening to us, but I guess this means we're now experienced in different kind of things. First of all, before we start, can you please write in the comments if you can hear us and if everything is fine? Because we were just talking to ourselves for 5 minutes straight, thinking that we were live, so we're really sorry for taking your time. Okay, I see that Ivana says that we are live, so hopefully that's true. And let's continue. So welcome to our Flutterista special Flutteriga event. This is our third online event from Flutteriga community, which is already super nice. We're really excited that they're happening consistently. And with every new event, I guess new people join us, new attendees, new listeners. So let us briefly remind you who we are, why we're here. I'm Flutteriga organizers. You can see us all on the screen. We are really passionate Flutter developers, passionate about Flutter, passionate about community. We've been attending a lot of events, currently hosting a lot of events, and also something going offline for Flutteriga soon. We will talk about this today, so stay tuned. And yes, my name is Daria. I'm a Flutter developer for 4 years, something like that. Been doing Android before that, native Android, and also an active community member, being a Flutterista, which is something also that we will discuss today, Women Tech Makers Ambassador, and a Google Developer Expert in Flutter and Dart, and obviously a Flutteriga organizer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rodríguez. I'm an iOS and Flutter developer by day, casual gamer by night. And yeah, I just love Flutter community. I hope to meet every one of you who's watching soon in any of the upcoming conferences this year, or maybe in some other format, in other way. And yeah, let's keep fluttering.
Hello, my name is Igor. I'm a mobile developer with over 10 years of experience. I started out initially as a native Android development, and for the past 3 years, just focusing on Flutter development. So, hello, everyone.
Okay, and while we discuss where actual Riga is, please write in the comments where are you watching us from. And Riga is the capital of Latvia. Latvia is a country in Eastern Northern Europe. You can see it here on the globe. And as I said, Riga is its capital, and we are interested in building our local community here. And so Flutter Riga is part of the Flutter Meetup Network, and Flutter Meetup Network is an initiative by Google, which the goal of which is to connect people enjoying Flutter by organizing and supporting meetups in different countries, in different cities. And every time I bring up the slide on our meetup, I'm really happy to see that the numbers that you can see here grow. Currently, Flutter meetups from the Flutter Meetup Network are available in 66 countries. There are 150 groups already and almost 90,000 members. And all of these meetups host both online and offline events. So just look out for the meetups closer to your cities, maybe, because if you are based in another city, you can find a Flutter meetup there, and also join their offline events, because offline events are super fun, and I think everyone interested in building communities should enjoy going to those. And the goal of our community, and I believe other community meetup network communities, is to obviously share knowledge about the Flutter framework, build community. In our case, it's local one in Riga and also global one online. And obviously to be diverse and to be inclusive and be nice to everyone and be friendly here, because this is what Flutter community is really known for and really shines in. Speaking of upcoming events and local communities, we are super excited to announce that we are having our first Flutter Riga offline edition. It's currently called Spring Edition, but this is a working name, I guess. Important things to know about this is it's happening 18th of April, so in 3 weeks, happening exactly in 3 weeks actually. It will be offline, in person only. We hope that we might have a recording, but the recording will be later on. The event itself is in person, so please only register if you can attend in person in Riga. So this is not an online event. We will still have some online events, of course. Stay tuned and follow us on all of our social media, and you can also contact us by email. But basically, we have a lot of social medias where you can follow for our events. And stay tuned, because we will be announcing more information about Flutter Riga Spring Edition the coming week. And since this is a Flutteristas special, let's talk a little bit about Flutteristas. Who are we and what do we do? So Flutteristas is a worldwide community for people who identify as female or non-binary and obviously are in love with Flutter, the Flutter SDK. And why should you join the Flutteristas? First of all, we have monthly meetings, and I think they're not even monthly right now. They happen much more often than once a month. So basically, we have different kind of meetings. Some of them are called watch clubs, where we watch a talk from one of the Flutteristas from some conference, and then we can ask her questions if she's present, and we can discuss what we learned and so on. Then we also have meetings with the Flutter team and in general with the Google teams and many other experienced speakers and interesting people who come and give us talks, which we can also ask questions, share information, and collaborate. One of the most important events in the Flutteristas community is the Flutteristas conference, which hopefully will happen once a year at least. Last year, it was a fantastic experience. We had 12 hours nonstop of online talks with Flutteristas of various experience, giving amazing presentations. And even if you don't have experience in speaking, that's not a problem, because this conference is also specifically done for less experienced speakers, so that more experienced speakers can help and mentor and give advice and all of those things, which is very important for growing the community. So Flutteristas is a very inclusive community, and if you identify as a woman or non-binary and you love Flutter, which you probably do if you are here right now, then of course feel free to join, and you can do that by going to the Flutteristas website, finding this little section and pressing the button Apply Now. And of course, if you have any questions about Flutteristas community, feel free to ask them in the chat and we will address them a little bit later. So finally, for agenda for today is the Flutter Riga keynote, which is we're now wrapping up. And we'll have two Flutteristas speaking, Alba and Rukaya, and you have the opportunity to learn from them and to obviously ask them also questions. And regarding questions, please post your questions with a Q prefix in the comments. This way, it will be easier for us to identify questions and ask them to the speakers after their talk.
All right. Thank you, Daria. Bye, Daria. Bye, Igor. So, our first speaker, actually, I had the pleasure meeting Alba last year in Berlin at FlutterCon, and now she's joining us for our almost monthly event in Flutter Riga, and she will tell us about app deployment via Fastlane and Bitrise. So, hello, Alba. I hope you're doing good. And yeah, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. So good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Alba, and I'm going to talk about releasing your Flutter app using Bitrise and Fastlane. First, I would like to present myself. As I said, my name is Alba, and I come from Spain. I live in Berlin, and I'm working as a software engineer in deliveryhero. A little bit of what I do in deliveryhero is that I'm currently working in two different squads. So one is an SDK and another one is a module of another app, a very big app done with Flutter that is called Talabat and is used in Dubai. For the Talabat app and for the SDK, we use Flutter, but for the SDK, we also use Swift UI and Kotlin. The SDK is basically an abstraction of an API that we can use by any app inside of deliveryhero. So we do this with Android, we do this with iOS, and with Flutter as well. The main of this SDK is to integrate and handle how we display the ads in our app. So basically how we simplify fetching the ads, tracking the events that the user is doing a click, loading an app or like a viewable app. And the aim is to have good analytics for this interaction within the user and the app. But today we will be talking about the first squad that I was working on when I first joined deliveryhero, because it's the one that I was using, well, we were using Bitrise and Fastlane. So we will see that more in depth shortly. So this is the agenda for today. We will talk about the project itself, how are we doing the release process, what is Bitrise and how we use it in this release process. And lastly, we are going to talk about Fastlane and how we use it. So let's talk a little more about the project. As I mentioned it before, I have been working in deliveryhero for the last years. And when I first joined, I was working in a squad that was integrated with 7 Flutter engineers, and we built a greenfield Flutter app, so completely Flutter. Yes, so to understand more about what we were doing, let's talk about my team. So I work in a team called Merchant Team, which is a completely Flutter app, and we shipped our project in 4 different products in multiple markets. So we had Panda Merchant for APAC and Hong Kong, which was basically created for the merchants to connect with the Foodpanda app, sorry. Similarly, we did the same in Austria, we shipped for Foodora Merchant. In Chile, we did for Pedidos Ya Merchant, and in Dubai, we did with an app that is called Talabat. We built this merchant app for all of these brands. So let's talk a little bit about the release process and how we organize it. To understand how we automate these app releases that we talked before, we first have to understand what we were releasing, and to understand what we were releasing, we need to speak a little bit about the structure and how we handle the team. So we were the merchant app, as I said before, and we were split into 2 different foundational squads. One was the core squad and the other one was the order squad. Each squad had a different product manager and a different engineer manager, had different back-end engineers and front engineers, and we shared the QA team and the product designer. And the Flutter engineers were split across the teams. So sorry for this slide, it's not looking correctly. Okay. So going back to what we were releasing, as we mentioned before, we were a 100% Flutter app, and we use what is called strength-based development. This means that our main branch, it was called master, and in every sprint what we did, so we had these requirements from products, and we built some features. So we were extracting a branch from the master branch that we call feature branch, and then we did all the features that it was required, and then we merged it back to master. So in this example, we can see how our strong development works. So one feature, second feature, the third feature, and the fourth feature were matched into master, And then when everything was done and reviewed, we merged them back. We also operate in terms of sprints, and there were sprints of 2 weeks. So in this example, we can see the example of the sprint number 10, that it was 2 weeks as well. When do we release? So we've seen what are we releasing. Now we are going to see when are we releasing. We had the sprint that was lasting 2 weeks, and we decided that for us, what it makes sense, it was to make the release at this point. So when the sprint was finishing. So within these 2 weeks, whatever we merge, it got frozen, which means that nothing past this point will go into the next release. So, for example, in this example, we can see that the features 1, features 2, features 3, and features 4 will get into the next release, but features 5 won't get merged because it won't get into the next release because it wasn't merged. So far, we've seen what we release, when do we release. So now we're going to see who does this release. We mentioned that we were a team of 7 Flutter engineers, so we have this responsibility of releasing between us. So it was totally on our ownership. To make this release more viewable, what we created, it was a document with the guidelines and a management release document, which contain the following information. So, for example, we had the release version, the first 2 digits that you can see here, the 23.13.0. So the 23 is the release year, and the second 2 digits denote the number of the release that it was ongoing in that year. So, for example, 23.13, this means that it's the 13th release of this year. And the third digit, it was the bad version, which means that if something went wrong into production, then we needed to do a hotfix, and then that number, it wouldn't be at 0, it wouldn't be a 1. But ideally, if everything is okay, then that should stay as 1. Then we had a code freeze date. We had a release date that normally it was 5 days after the code freeze, because we wanted to have a little bit of time for the regression testing with our QA team. And we also have a build number, which was provided by Bitrise, and it's the build number of the UTA that we will see later, and the release notes. So this release notes was written as well with the release manager, and was containing everything that this release was containing. So, for example, what new features, if there's a hotfix. This was very useful because, for example, for external stakeholders. So let's say someone that is not entirely directly in our team wants to know what we are doing, but yeah, so it's not in our team. So the only thing that they need to do is check these release notes, and they can see what we ship, they can see what is the nearest release, they can see what date will be the next release. So they see the whole existing project, and that's very good. So also we have a status, if it's released or still in progress, and we assign this release manager to the different 7 engineers, so we rotate with each other. Let's see how we did this release. So in these guidelines, we had very specific steps. So we have these 8 steps that we will see now. It's very well documented in the guidelines. The first one, it was the code freeze. What happened in here, it was that we updated the translations. So we wanted to do that in case something fails in this step, we would fetch the translation beforehand, so the user would see something in the app actually. Then we create a release branch. We update the new app version in the PubSpec YAML, and we send a notification in Slack to the team. So we inform them that the code fix has been released, has been successful, and that the release branch is now ready. We then do some stability and quality checks. In this step, what we want to do is check the stability of our app. So what we do is run Flutter analyze and run Flutter test. If something goes wrong at this point, then we fix the issues, and then we restart the process again. We then, step 3, we distribute the UA builds. So in our apps, the 8 apps that we have 3 environments. So we have the staging, that is where the engineers do their own features. The UAT, where our internal stakeholders and the QA team do the tests. And the production, which is the live user use the app. So we distribute these 4 iOS apps and these 4 iOS Android, sorry, so it's 8 in total. We do it via App Center. Then step number 4, we address if there's some feedback in the regression issues. So our QA team start testing on the UAT builds, and then we call this regression testing. In the meantime, very important that the release manager looks on Sentry and monitors everything and sees if there's some issues. So if there's any logs, and if there's any issues, of course, then we do a hotfix and we fix them. Then step 5, we distribute in the previous steps, we distribute the UAT build. So now what we are doing, that everything was the regression test and everything, we do the prod builds. So we distribute the prod builds in iOS. We use test flight, and for Android, we use App Center and Play Store. You might be wondering, why are we not using just Play Store? It was because in the previous step, we were also using App Center. So for us, it was way more easy to just give test credentials and push it to App Center, so the stakeholders and QA can do more testing instead of having more access to more platforms. This is why. Then we send again a Slack message that saying that the prods builds are ready to be tested. The step the release Jira ticket, and then we update the release management context. Then number 7, whenever everything is done from prod builds and we have the green light from the QA team, then we submit the production builds for review. And the final step, we publish our apps in production. We do this in what is called stage rollout, which means that we don't ship to production on 100% because we have a lot of users. So we want to monitorize what is happening. So we use Sentry for it. So we first do 1%, then we see that there's no issues, then we do 5%, we do 20, we do 50, and this 100. Then we create a git tag, and then we release branch to master. We also send another Slack message to say that the apps are being published, and then the release manager will be monitoring to Sentry for at least 7 days to see that everything is correct. So this is very tedious, all of these steps. So this is why it's very good to have a good guidelines, and also keep in mind that we are 7 engineers and this is happening every 2 weeks. So you are the responsible for this whole release process for one time every 3 months. So it's not that tedious. Let's see, we talk about what are we releasing, when are we releasing, who is releasing, and how are we releasing. Let's see now what Bitrise is doing in this how and how we do things. So as you must know, everyone, Bitrise is a CI and CD platform that specializes with mobile development. It has a lot of good features, like, for example, automating builds, tests, and release process. And also is an open source, so there's a lot of steps that are already built by community. So for example, if you are deploying an iOS app, you have broken down all of the steps that you need for the deployment in your process. So this is where it comes very handy. Also, Bitrise gives a lot of flexibility because it allows you to store the Bitrise file in your GitHub repository. So, for example, when you start using this Bitrise YAML, the Bitrise know and downloads which workflows are you doing, and it shows you in the dashboard, for example. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. First, it lies in your code, and second, you can have different workflows for different brands, and it will show you different workflows in the dashboard as well. So earlier I showed you the steps in the release process, and this is an example of how it looks for us for Bitrise. So this is an example of the pipeline in Bitrise that contains our workflows. So for example, we can see here in the first step that we have an inbuilt workflow for cloning the repository. So actually you don't need a script bash for doing that. The only thing that you need to update is the pub/spec YAML, and then download your keys, and you can go to the second step, which is testing your app by running Flutter test and Flutter analyze. And then the third step, that is distribute the UAT builds, and you can use Fastlane for sending the Slack notification. We've seen now that we're using Fastlane, so let's talk a little bit about that. So basically, Fastlane again is, as you all might know, is an open source tool that allows you to publish your apps and code signing. But this comes very handy, for example, when you do an iOS. So just like Bitrise, Fastlane allows you to have a fast file in your project, and it has already some predefined steps for the community. This is an example of the Fastlane, how it looks in the Android setup. So, for example, how you release an app to Play Store. As you can see, this uses Ruby, but you actually don't need to learn Ruby to use Fastlane. It's just a simple syntax. And for example, in this code, what Ruby defines as lane is a predefined set of code. So when you run this command that we have upload to production in the terminal, you will first run the first method that is built up, and as we've seen, it's a custom method. It's the one on the right, so it's predefined, and then executes the Gradle method that also is not in this screen because it's one of the multiple methods that is pre-built in this open source, and then runs upload and uploads it to the Play Store. This is another example for iOS, and it's a little bit different because you see that here we have a method that is called sync certificates and provisional profiles. So in this step, what Fastlane is helping us to do is to do the code signing. And basically what it does is that creates a repository, then downloads your certificates and your provisional files, encrypts them, so in encrypted format. And all you need to do is to have access to this GitHub repository and then a Fastlane password to decrypt that encryption. And then if a new engineer comes to the team, you just need to run Fastlane certificates. And then this engineer has everything in their machine to, for example, run iOS build or even to deploy in the store. Yes, this release process is not 100% automatized. It's probably 60%, but it's very beneficial for us. So we can do regression testing, sanity tests. We have a QA teams. We have humans behind it, and we can stage rollout. Maybe 100% automatization. It works for Google or Facebook. But in a team of 7 Flutter engineers, this combo of Flutter, Bitrise, and Fastlane works perfectly. I think I must apologize because I think I have the all slides, and I put the slides here with my whole team here because I wanted to say thank you. But yeah, I maybe can present again. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. I wanted to mention my 7 engineers and especially Rohan Taneja, which is our staff engineer. And yeah, I added his LinkedIn in here. I apologize for this. Yeah, and thank you again for being here. If you have any questions, please.
Thank you for your presentation. That was very interesting. And yeah, I also agree. Yeah, using tools for CI/CD greatly improves the process and overall stability of releases and like builds, etc. So we have a few questions in the chat.
Yep.
One question is, Bitrise also has distribution workflow. Why do you do distribution via Fastlane and not Bitrise?
Yeah, Bitrise does have, but we have Fastlane. We were using Fastlane before we integrated Bitrise. And when we were a very small team, and when you are a small team, you only want to send the APKs, sorry. And to do that, the builds with Fastlane is very useful. Also, it helps us a lot to have code signing via code. So that's also why we chose Fastlane. And also, one of the things that made us go for Fastlane was that when we wanted to manage everything from the code, and before we started, Bitrise didn't have this option. So the Bitrise.yaml, it came after. So this is why we have Fastlane.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have a question about, before deciding on Bitrise, did you compare it with other similar tools? If so, what were the selection criteria and the reasons for choosing it?
Yeah, for example, there's many tools that could do that. Like, for example, we were wondering if Jenkins or CodeMagic could do this. But Bitrise, for example, has this UI in the dashboard that we really like. And I think that's probably why we went with it.
Okay, thank you. One more question. You can also, as mentioned before in the chat, add a question in the front of the message and then what you want to ask. So if any other questions, you can also post them. But yeah. Also agree about Bitrise and graphical user interface. It's really helpful and really clear to see.
All right. Thank you, Alba, for your presentation. Thank you to the audience for the questions. And okay, let's invite our next speaker. Let's invite our next speaker onto the stage. Hello, Rukaya.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear. All right. Okay. I think there are some issues with the connection again. Could it be? Let's just wait a couple of seconds. I'm sure everything will sort itself out. Meanwhile, if you have any questions about anything in the chat, please ask either to our speakers or to us. Okay, I think you're back. Are you ready? Are you ready to present?
Am I audible enough?
Yeah, you are.
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So let's start.
Okay. And okay, I'll just leave the stage for now, and hopefully your connection issues will just sort themselves out. Or I don't know any jokes, to be honest, but I can bring my people onto the stage to help me out with something. Hello.
Hello. This is so far the
Hello,
most
yeah.
technically challenging event we had. Okay, I think Rupea is back.
Okay. Yeah.
Is everything okay
So,
with your internet right now?
yeah. Now it's fine. So
Okay, then we
shall we
can leave.
start now? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you can
So,
start.
hello everyone.
We are leaving.
Hello everyone. This is Ruqayya Sattar. I am from Pakistan. I'm a Flutter software engineer at Next Generation Innovations. I have been navigating my career from native mobile applications to Flutter software engineering. It's been more than 3 years. I am into mobile app development, and I am actively involved in open source community, content writing, and nurturing young talent by mentoring at different platforms like We Speak or Outreachy. So that's all for, yeah. Let's talk about my topic. So, accessibility for all. In this session, we'll be diving into essential aspects of ethical and responsible software practices, which is important to understand that the tools and practices we'll explore are not just suggestions, they form the backbone of ethical software creation. So, by prioritizing accessibility right from the start of the development phase, developers can ensure their apps meet legal requirements and are usable by everyone. So this not only improves the overall user experience, but also expands the app's audience to include people from all walks of life. Um, Now, the topics we'll cover are understanding diverse abilities and accessibility guidelines, their practical advantage, and pillars of accessibility. So I will explain them one by one, like talk about them one by one. Let's talk about something very important first, recognizing various disabilities. Whether we are talking about software development, education, healthcare, or workplaces, creating inclusive environments is important. Why? Because every individual matters, and inclusivity ensures that nobody is left behind. So, disabilities come in many forms, each with its own set of challenges and requirements. So, by understanding them, like these differences, we pave the way for more supportive, like society. So, in software development, it means designing applications and platforms that are accessible to everyone. Um, yeah, accessible to everyone. In education, it means creating learning environment where every student has the ability to thrive, and while in healthcare, it means providing services that cater to the um, diverse needs of patients. And while in workplaces, it means fostering an environment where every employee feels valued and empowered to contribute their best. So let's embrace diversity wholeheartedly. Let's educate ourselves and work together to build a world where everyone, regardless of their disabilities, can fully participate and succeed. So let's start with the physical disabilities. Think about users who may have mobility challenges such as paralysis or arthritis. For them, app accessibility could mean incorporating features like voice commands, larger clickable areas, and keyboard shortcuts. These simple adjustments ensure that they can navigate and interact the app comfortably without relying solely on touchscreen and mic. Another thing is sensory disability. So let's consider sensory disabilities. Users with visual impairments like blindness or low vision greatly benefit from features such as screen readers, high contrast color schemes, and text to speech functionality. Similarly, for those with hearing impairments, including subtitles or visual alerts as alternative to audio cues ensures that all information is accessible to them. So let's move to cognitive disability. Moving on to cognitive, it's like dyslexia or autism. It's important to design apps with a clear, consistent layout, straightforward navigations, and customizable text sizes and fonts. Simplifying language and providing easy to understand instructions can also go a way, long way in making apps more accessible for these individuals. Then there is psychiatric disabilities such as anxiety or PTSD. Overly stimulating interfaces can be overwhelming, it can be difficult for users with these conditions. Therefore, offering a calm design, the ability to control sensory inputs like sounds or animations, and features that allow users to set their own pace without pressure or time constraints can greatly enhance their experience. And lastly, the chronic disabilities, so like chronic pain or fatigue for these users, minimizing the need for prolonged interruptions is important. Features like saving session states, easy to access controls, and low physical effort requirements can significantly improve the usability of apps for them. By considering these things or aspects, or incorporating inclusive design principles, we can create apps that are not only usable by only usable but also welcoming to individuals with diverse disabilities. So accessibility guidelines. Okay, making apps and software accessibility requires some different features and designs to meet diverse needs. So this includes for some accessibility guidelines, standards, and involved users from different disability communities for testing and feedback. So when it comes to making websites and app accessible to everyone, there's a gold standard to follow, the Web Content Accessibility Guideline or VCAG. It's developed by Wide Web Consortium. These guidelines are like a roadmap ensuring that online content is perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. So what does that mean? It means that whether someone has a visual, auditory, physical, or cognitive impairment, they can still access and use digital content effectively. And here's the thing, like following VCAG is not just a nice to have, it's often a legal requirement to many places like the ADA in the US or and Europe. It's like 301545 standard, I guess. Yeah, it's in European Union. So now let's talk about mobile applications. Just like websites, they need to be accessed to, like for mobile applications. That's where platform specific guidelines come in. Apple has their own accessibility guidelines for iOS, while for Android, Google has their own accessibility guidelines. Things including voice over services, adjustable text sizes, and color contrast settings, or they are all tailored for mobile devices. And here's the kicker, the principles for VCAG are not just for websites, they are relevant for mobile applications too. So, whether you are browsing the web or using an app on your phone, accessibility is key. It's about making sure that no matter who you are or what challenges you face, the digital world is open and welcome to you. Now let's talk about its practical advantage of inclusive app designs. So why inclusive app design matters? It's not just about doing the right thing morally. It actually brings the real advantage that go beyond simply meeting accessibility standards. Firstly, when we design apps inclusively, we are opening doors to a much larger audience. Think about it, around 16% of global population experiences some form of disability. So by catering to their needs, we are not just being inclusive, we are expanding our market reach, potentially leading to increased revenue. And secondly, inclusive apps tend to be more user friendly for everyone. When we prioritize accessibility, we end up with cleaner layouts, clearer navigation, and simpler interfaces, which makes the user experience smoother and more enjoyable for everyone, not just for those disabilities. And happy users means high retention rates and positive recommendation. But it doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here. Inclusive design also drives innovation. When we consider a wide range of abilities and experiences, we are pushed to think creatively, resulting in innovative design solutions that benefits all users. Features like voice commands and predictive text initially developed for accessibility are now widely appreciated by broader audience. And let's not forget about the competitive edge. As awareness of accessibility grows, users are more likely to choose apps that cater to everyone. Companies that prioritize inclusivity can stand out in crowded markets, appealing to socially conscious consumers and organizations. So, four pillars. There are some pillars for accessibility. These pillars derive from the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, provides a framework for creating accessible content for wide range of people and disabilities. While extracting from VCAG, it can still apply to any digital product, whether on the web or mobile application. There are some like levels of accessibility according to the standard, like three level of compliance outlined in the web content accessibility. A, AA, or AAA. Level one, let me break it down for you. Level A, which we can like call basic accessibility. It's like foundation of building. It covers essential features like providing text alternatives for images, making sure people can navigate with just a keyboard, and ensuring compatibility with assistive technologies like screen readers. And I'm sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah. For level two, moving to a level enhanced accessibility, things get even better. We are not just covering the basics, we are improving usability. This means clearer labels, better contrast for easier reading, and making sure user can easily identify and correct errors. And finally, there is advanced accessibility, which is a gold standard. Here we are talking about going above and beyond, including features like sign language interpretation and even stricter contrast requirements. What are the there are some tools and widgets which Flutter provides for promoting accessibility. So how Flutter makes sure everyone can access and use its app? You see, Flutter's approach to accessibility is clearly woven into its architecture. Like there's this thing called semantic tree. It's like a secret helper that works in the background to make apps accessible to people who rely on assistive technologies like screen readers. Here's the interesting part. In There's interesting part that in Flutter's web version, this semantic tree is not automatically built. Instead, when someone using a screen reader lands on Flutter web app, they are prompted with an accessibility button. It's invisible to the eye but important for performance reasons. Once activated, this button triggers the construction of the semantic tree, ensuring that everything becomes accessible. Yeah, and accessibility in Flutter, like this semantic tree sits alongside what's called widget tree. It's filled with these semantic nodes that correspond to different parts of the application. These nodes essentially speak to assistive technologies, helping them understand and interact with the user interface. For example, imagine a slider widget. In slider widget, its semantics node might relay information like increased or decreased values, ensuring that everyone, regardless of how they are accessing the app, can understand and engage with it. So, in essence, Flutter's accessibility is not just an afterthought, it's deeply embedded with its framework, ensuring that everyone can enjoy the magic of Flutter, yeah, for Flutter apps. So some of the primary widgets Flutter has, one is semantic. Let's talk about one by one about them. Um, with a semantic widget, developers can customize how their widgets are described to users. It's like adding a layer of accessibility magic to your UI element. You can give them labels, hints, or even description for elements that might not be obvious to everyone. See that live region parameter? It's like a speed dial for screen readers, telling them to announce the semantics as soon as the widget appears. Perfect for things that need immediate attention, right? Yeah. Merge semantics. So imagine you have a bunch of widgets and you want them to be treated as one big thing by screen reader. That's where merge semantics comes in handy. It basically merges the accessibility information of multiple widgets into a single node in the semantic tree. This is super helpful when you are dealing with the complex UIs and want to simplify the experience for users relying on screen reader type technologies. And in this example one code, the merge semantic widget wraps around a row consisting a checkbox and some text. Together, they are treated as a single entity for screen readers, making it easier for users to understand and interact with your application. Another is exclude semantic widget. No, so exclude semantic widget, like it excludes a widget and its children from the semantic tree, like that image asset is not needed to target for like accessible semantic accessibility. So for block semantics, it's a handy widget. Block semantic widget. It's a handy widget in Flutter that helps to manage what's visible to accessibility to, like again screen readers. Imagine you have certain UI elements like alerts or drawers that pop up and cover other parts of your app. Block semantics steps in to ensure that only the most important elements are accessible. So in the example one code, block semantic ensure that when your alert dialog appears, it's the main focus for accessibility tool. It hides other elements behind it, so user interacting with the screen reader wouldn't get distracted. So there are some features and tools to enhance accessibility. Advances in communication, mobile devices, wearables, and telecommunication interfaces have paved the way for seamless delivery of healthcare services remotely. Oh, yeah. Another thing is, along with the key accessibility widgets, Flutter provides several other features and tools like Some of them is custom scroll view widget. One of the great thing about custom scroll view is its support for accessibility feature like talk. Yeah, this one is slider widget accessibility. It provides an accessible slider experience with value indicators, list view with automatic semantics, and custom scroll view. So one of the greatest thing about custom scroll view is its support for accessibility features like talk back or voice over. These are important for users who are visually impaired. With custom scroll view, we can ensure that users receive announcements about scroll state changes, such as how many items are visible or where they are within the list or grid. So this is another text rich. This allows for text with multiple styles and scales, enhancing readability for important information. And these features highlights Flutter's capability to build accessible apps efficiently. And there are some other tools like for all platforms there are different accessible tools. For iOS, voiceover, this is Apple's built-in screen reader. It's important for testing how visually impaired user navigate your app, making sure your Flutter app's UI component are labeled and easy to navigate with voiceover. And for Android, there is TalkBack. It's Google's equivalent of VoiceOver. TalkBack is important for testing accessibility on Android devices specifically, and it ensures we ensure that your Flutter app is usable with TalkBack. And another is accessibility scanner. It's tool by Google that scans your app and suggests improvements for accessibility, such as enlarging touch targets and improving contrast. While on Windows and Linux, there are these tools as well. Like one of them is Navigator for Windows built-in screen reader. It helps test how apps are used by visually impaired users. And another is Magnifier for Linux. Uh, there is Orca, something we can say Orca screen reader. It's popular screen reader for Linux. It provides spoken feedback and essential for testing in Linux. And if we talk about cross-platform, then what Flutter gives us is Flutter Widget Inspector. It's integrated into Flutter's dev tools. This helps inspect the widget tree and layout, ensuring correct semantics for accessibility. Flutter testing. The Flutter integration testing framework can automate accessibility testing. And another is color contrast analyzers. Like use tools like Web Aim color contrast. It's checker to enhance your app meets color contrast guidelines. And always manually test your app with various accessibility features enabled on Android and iOS devices. So thank you so much. Let's strive to build more accessible and inclusive digital future for everyone. And thank you so much for giving your time.
Thank you for presentation. It's totally agree. It's super important for making apps that everyone can use. So yeah, thank you. We have a few questions in the chat. One of the questions, how do you approach accessibility at next generation innovations? Do you follow any internal standards during development?
We work with different startups, so mostly startups doesn't like they at the starting of the mobile application development or development phase they doesn't prioritize accessibility. But I in like gradually they ask us to give the applications with for visually impaired people or accessible applications. So it's not we are not like following any standard now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One question is an additional one. How do automated testing tools help maintain accessibility standards in Flutter apps, and how effective are they in identifying accessibility issues?
For accessibility standards, we should follow the, like I have mentioned, that web worldwide web compatible standards. So they just gave some instructions of how to test, like what testing tools to follow, and how effective are they. They are effective as the application is usable for many people, for the people with different needs. We are like, the application is for everyone. So if the application is flexible enough, then we can have more revenue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Not sure if any more questions, but just one thing. So you can always reach out to our speakers in social media and ask them there if you have any additional questions, which we didn't ask now, but then, for example, thought of later.
All right. Thank you for your presentation. It was really insightful, as always. Always the always important topic, the accessibility. I'm something of accessibility guy myself at the company that I work on. So yeah, I'll give a quick word to Daria.
Yes, thank you again to our speakers for giving fantastic talks and making this an amazing Futurista special. Thank you to our audience for your questions, for your attention, and we're always happy that you enjoy our events. And yes, follow us on all of the social media to learn first about our upcoming events, offline and online. And once again, this was the most technically challenging event we ever had. We had so many different problems from everyone, like I don't know what happened today. Something just wasn't right, but in the end, everything worked out. Both speakers, despite the technical problems, delivered amazing talks. So kudos to them. Thank you again. And yes, see everyone at our next event. And bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.